July 5th. July 5th, Sunday. Everything remains quiet. Our pickets and skirmishers are still far to the front, and the enemy does not seem anxious to advance. C. Griffin's command, Salem's Battery, makes us a visit and finds that Ewell's Corps is only a half a mile off near Black Horse, also known as Breen's Tavern. I walk over there in search of my brother. He is far to the front in a line of sharpshooters, but the lieutenant, commanding G Company, informs me that he is well. With great joyous account of his safety and gratitude to God for his answer to my prayers, I return to my post. Among other acquaintances, I see General Early and Captain Fitzer, the former of whom, on my telling him that General Kemper is at our hospital and that there is no danger in riding up and making him a visit. Brother Morton, on General Kemper's staff, also sides back and sees the general for just a few moments. He tells me to visit him frequently, as he will not live very long, but to stay a short time. I indeed do so, and I'm certain that General Kemper's friends, that he will not die, that he will die, that his coffin was made by Ulysses Maston, one of his men. He must have got some wood and capable enough to actually make a coffin. All the valuables were taken except his watch, which is retained in case he may need money before he dies. About 1 o'clock, the enemy begins to show shells from a battery they have moved up in front of the hospital about a half-mile distance. The shots are directed against the house and any enemy that might be concealed in the woods or to the rear or right of it. I know that our batteries, a short time before, just in the direction of some of these shots, and in line of the battery, just to the rear of the hospital, about 1/4 mile off, in the sides of the high ridge of the hills. I momentarily listen to hear our guns reply, and the engagement begins, in which case the hospital, having 250 wounded men in the house and on the grounds, or around, is about halfway between the opposing lines. But our army has moved off, and this accounts for the advance of the enemy. General Lee has been lying in front of them for 2 days in his very accessible position, but the object of the enemy is to follow at a respectable distance as we move off and make this pretext for the Yankees' glowing accounts for a grand victory. Rebels in full retreat. Meade is in hot pursuit. At 2 o'clock, General Sickles' 6th Corps advances and takes possession of our position and the hospital. They are Jersey men, many of his troop. Both officers and soldiers are very polite and kind. They are the best specimens of Yankee soldiers I have ever seen. General,
not all bad
no,
Jersey.
yeah, it's true. General Sedgwick visits General Kemper. I see General Warren, Chief of Engineers. They promise to send medical help and supplies immediately. They are evidently elated, but are not insulting. In a short time, they pass on, pretending to be inclined to pressing our army. We are left entirely to ourselves. In other uniforms, they could pass for Southerners, if only they could tell the straight truth. They are halted in front of our hospital. From the free and friendly conversations between them and our wounded, you would suppose they were friends and acquaintances. 7th of July, Tuesday.
I walk over the battlefield with Dr. Harrison, but the dead had nearly all been buried. I see unburied 2 who were brought to our field hospital and died soon afterwards, and 5 or 10 more on the hill near the artillery. Yankees report a capture of 4 miles of our wagon train. I heard yesterday, I think, that our ammunition being exhausted and the Potomac too high for us to cross, that the whole army had been captured except for 5,000 who were drowned in attempting to escape. I call to see General Kemper. He is restless and nervous, but supposed to be doing better. I do not press religious services on him in his present condition, being entirely satisfied that what he told me when I first visited him, that when he was conscious of his present condition, he had not put off to such a season his preparation for death, but he had for the months past proposed to make a confession of church by connecting himself with the church on the first favorable occasion. Wednesday, July 8th.
Have heavy rain early in the morning. Extravagant reports of the capture of the main body of Lee's army are circulating and believed by the Yankees. The aggregate of their losses is between 20 and 30,000. As usual, I visit General Kemper and hold prayer with him. July 10th, Friday. Christian missionaries and many ladies see doing all that was possible considering their numbers and resources. We meet many she-doctors whom amuse us very much, despite our disgust. In going from one hospital to another, we fall in with one of these creatures and walk along with her for a mile or two, as she and her party are our guides. She's young, pretty, intelligent, but a vein of modesty would be a charming creature. This hominess is a necessary fault in a she-doctor, and the general defect of northern women in general. They speak their mind, I think. To want modesty is to want everything, and of course we are not very much fascinated by Yankee lasses. A glance is all that is generally necessary to distinguish them from the Maryland ladies who visit us. This young practitioner is a first-rate walker, I almost say northern troller. I am sorely puzzled, Mayo was one of his sidekicks, to keep up with her under the rays of the midday sun. She is quite well formed, nimble and active, and as she walks on just before us, seems fond of showing her agility. The fantastic tricks which she plays with her skirt, hoops, and other paraphernalia are almost worthy of the Richmond charge. Her favorite movement is to laterally gird up her loins by drawing her outer skirt to very high and fastening them by an elastic string very gracefully. As the inner skirt reaches about the ankle, or nearly so, she is not much impeded by her rapid march, and at the same time displays to Dixie boys very pretty pair of Pennsylvania feet and ankles. Oh yes, I think he hasn't seen a woman in a long time. We have a long and tedious walk twice crossing the battlefield, hard with the stench of dead horses. The Yankees very positively affirm that Lee's army has surrendered, except that portion drowned in an attempt to cross the Potomac River. Our Yankees believe these lies in total. Others circulate them to work on the fears of the market and more ignorant of our men, to induce them to take the oath. By the by, the Yankees are fond of drinking with our doctors and delight in proposing as a toast the Union. To dupe the Yankees and enjoy their good liquor, one of our ways always proposes the Union, and as he turned his glasses, would add, down with it. About the same time the Yankees thought they had a real convert to their cause, they finally discovered that down with it, it was designed to apply to the Union as well as the liquor. So they thought that down with it was, the liquor going, but no, it wasn't that. The dead are all buried, but I am surprised to find so few graves of our men compared with those of the Yankees. Those unmarked graves, I suppose, are ours. July 13th, Monday.